What's going on, guys? Firewolf Tech here, showing you guys the Samsung Odyssey OLED G8. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys all around and why I chose this monitor for my new setup. It's going to replace my LG 38-inch Ultra Gear, which was a great gaming monitor, but as a content creator, I needed a better display with better color accuracy and connectivity with my Mac Studio. So let's go ahead and start off with the unboxing of the Odyssey OLED G8. Now, not to be confused with the Odyssey Neo G8, that one is a 32-inch monitor from Samsung. This is specifically called the Odyssey OLED G85SB, and this is a 0.1 millisecond, 175 Hz smart gaming monitor. Alright, so with the phone cover off, let's go ahead and reveal the actual screen. Let's take off this plastic piece here. And there we have the 34-inch ultra-wide beautiful OLED. What I love about this monitor is how thin and how lightweight it feels. Very lightweight on the hands. You can see me flipping it over with ease. Taking a closer look at the ports here, we have a mini display port, micro HDMI. We have two Type-C cables here, so it does have really good connections. You can see where the back is and how thin it is. Definitely a very nice looking monitor. Has a silver back, beautiful, and it has a really nice slight curve to it. So inside the box we have this really nice monitor stand in a really nice silver color. It definitely gives me an iMac vibe to it, which I do like a lot. You can see that it goes up and down. Next we have the wall mount adapter. Now this is going to be the method that I'm going to use here, since I like to mount it on a stand. I think it looks a lot better with the stand itself. Next we have this really large power adapter here. Although it's really bulky, at least the actual monitor itself remains very thin, so it's a nice trade-off to have. This is the actual monitor base. This is going to attach to the other part of the monitor stand. This is the US plug. This is what's going to plug directly into the power brick. And Samsung supplies us with a mini display to DisplayPort cable, which is what I'm going to use to connect my PC. And finally, we get a really nice white remote. Now, this is something very unique to a monitor itself. Usually monitors really don't come with remotes. They usually have the buttons built into the monitor itself, but they give us a remote here, and this is going to have a lot of features that mimics Samsung smart TVs. I'm going to install the monitor stand first to show you guys how it looks, and then I'll install the VESA mount adapter and mount it on my monitor arm. The base is simple to install with just 2 screws to secure it. And there we have the Samsung G8 OLED with the base installed. I think this monitor looks absolutely fire and looks very premium with the silver accents. It's thin and lightweight, which makes moving the monitor easier. I know it looks slightly tilted and I should have straightened it out, but for now I'm showing you the different height adjustments and tilt angles. So the monitor arm that I'm using is the AVLT 13 to 43 inch monitor stand, which I'll link down below. Before we can install the VESA mount, we have to first use the Samsung VESA mount adapter. All it takes is 4 screws to securely attach the adapter. Then we can finally use the VESA mount and secure it to the monitor. Thankfully, these are thumb screws. I like to lift up the monitor from the VESA mount to make sure it's sturdy. Putting it on the monitor arm is very easy on this super thin G8 OLED. Once I hear a snap, it's all done, and now I can lower it and start taking the front plastic off. Just wow, screen is absolutely beautiful. Alright, so let me walk you through the setup. Now, since we get a control, I'm going to hit the power button to power on the G8 OLED. Once it's powered on, the setup process is very similar to setting up a Samsung Smart TV, which I think is very unique in a monitor. It's not really something that I'm accustomed to. Usually you just turn on the monitor, you have an input, and that's it. But Samsung gives you more of a customizable options here. And the setup is pretty much very straightforward, giving you different ways to connect it. And what I like about this monitor is that it automatically has the ability to connect to Wi-Fi, which allows the monitor to automatically update the latest firmware, which is really nice because usually with monitors you do have to download the update files on a USB and plug it in, so it's a lot more complicated. Samsung just makes it so much easier. So as you can see here, it already prompted for an update, so it automatically downloads it, updates it, so I'm always on the latest firmware, which is really cool. Now as for the smart hub, I want to be very honest, it's not something that I really care for. I think that in a monitor, I just think it's a waste because you're buying this as a monitor, you're not really buying it for the TV aspects of it, because to be honest, I don't care for all these applications that are built into it, such as Hulu, Netflix, the Samsung Smart Hub. To me, it's just too much clutter, and I don't think I'll ever use it because, again, that's what I have a TV for. And you're going to connect these devices, you're going to connect the monitor to devices like a Mac or a PC, where you can actually just watch the content through there. There's really no need for that. So I personally just think that it's a waste. I mean, I think it's cool to have in the back end, but after using it for a while, sometimes switching through inputs can be a little bit annoying sometimes. So I would rather this monitor have the Wi-Fi capabilities. Let it update, great, but I don't need all this extra stuff. I really don't. I'm never going to use it. I just need it to connect to whatever input that I use, whether that's Mac, whether that's a PlayStation 5, a PC, or whatever. That's it. So after messing with the home settings, I was finally able to find the input settings, and I was able to select USB-C, which is directly connected to my Mac Studio. Now I just wish that the remote had a source button or input button so I can quickly switch to the inputs. But once it was finally connected to the Mac Studio, I have to say that this display looks absolutely stunning. It looks beautiful. It's straight up fire. Like the way the blacks it's just so freaking black. I just love it. Definitely a huge step up from the LG Ultra Gear 38-inch that I just replaced it with. As for the resolution, it automatically connected to 3440 by 1440, which I think is absolutely perfect. I didn't really need to adjust the resolution any further. The text looks super clear, everything looks rich. As for the refresh rate, automatically have it set to 120 Hz. I believe that's the highest that the Mac Studio can support using the Type-C interface. But that's perfectly fine because 120 Hz is definitely gonna provide the smoothest experience. And as for HDR, me personally, I just rather just leave it off. I just think that the HDR doesn't look that great on Mac, so I prefer to just leave it off. Now going from a 38-inch down to a 34-inch might seem like a big adjustment, but to be very honest, I definitely prefer the 34-inch over the 38. I think it's just the perfect size, to be very honest. Even though I lost 4 inches, I don't really see the difference too much. And I think the trade-off with the better screen resolution, better clarity in the text, just everything is just so much better on this display. I think it's worth trading down to the 34-inch, and I just think that the way everything is set up is just a lot easier to set up. Even when it comes to Final Cut Pro, having it open is very seamless, and once I have it in full screen, you just get so much space. 34 inches is definitely a large real estate amount. And for me personally, I've always preferred ultra wide setups instead of having a dual monitor. I just think it looks a lot cleaner and it just makes working a lot easier. So I do like that a lot. And as a content creator, one of the applications that I use the most is going to be Final Cut Pro. Now, the most important thing for me is displaying a lot of the timeline makes it a lot easier for me to work, and how the screen portrays the color matters a lot to me. And this is one of the main reasons why I went with the OLED monitor, because I wanted something that looked very accurate, had deep blacks, that's very close to how the new phones are, because even the iPhone 14s, the Samsung, they all are using OLED displays. So I feel like when you're creating content, having an OLED display, I think, makes a lot of sense. It's the most accurate that I was able to work with, and I'm really, really satisfied with how the display looks. And even with having a web browser open and having Final Cut Pro side by side, I still have a ton of work to work with. And I just think that is just really great. 34 inches, again, is definitely a perfect size. I think Samsung hit a home run with this G8 OLED. I mean, not only do I have a nice productivity, I can connect with almost virtually any device. Now, I'm not going to show any of the gaming input. I'm just showing you my opinions on what I think about this as a content creation machine. Absolutely stunning. I love it.